somebody who has the experience. And trust me, conflict management is one of those very important attributes of a Scrum Master that you need to develop. If I may advise, you have to first of all understand that conflicts, there may be healthy conflicts and there may be destructive conflicts. So you want to determine which one is which one. And you also have to understand that when people are conflicting, when there's a conflict, it could either be conflict on a problem or conflict on individuals. When it is on the problem, then it's a healthy conflict. You want to determine the root cause of that problem. When it's between people now, your coaching stances as a Scrum Master comes in. There is, I think Thomas Killman wrote about conflict resolution, which you can really apply in almost everyday life, including Scrum. It talks about the different styles you mentioned are competing, accommodating, avoiding, compromising, and collaborating. You want to read on it, it's very interesting. So tell a story, the power of storytelling, right? Like I was saying before. And we have always on this forum talked about the STAR method. If you want to answer scenario-based questions, use the STAR method and you will always win your interviews. Bring that experience to the table because that's what everybody's looking at. Don't just come and say, like the first question, Dorcas, you answer, you were talking about, we did this, we did this. The question was, what is your role as a Scrum Master? Bring what you have brought in as a Scrum Master. What is your responsibility? So try using the I tool in some aspects and bring your experience again to the table. Thank
you, Lady N, for that 411. Please, Lady N, could you put the you mentioned a book and the STAR method, put that in the chat so people can do their research. All right. And last, hey, Chooks, I bet you they call you Chooks in real life, right? Chukwuebuka.
Yes. How you?
Good. Do you want to take 2 minutes and are you to critique or what?
Just critique.
Yeah,
but
take 2 minutes to do that. So we can.
Yeah, I don't really want to go much into the critique, right? I just wanted to add some stuff because similar stuff happened to me today with my product owner. So I'm just trying to see how I can share with the team so they can have a story a lot of times when it comes to answering such questions, right? Get stories that can help you facilitate the next question that will come right to you. Because sometimes I realize most of the individuals that answer these questions, right? At the end of the day, you ending that answer that you're giving out, you end up not having, will I say, a follow-up question after you answer that specific question that you've been answered. So find a way to drive the next question that will come in. For example, I think Victor talked about something, you telling a story, right? If you're telling a story, make sure at the end of that story, whichever question that will come after that, you can actually have a way to defend or talk about more of those scenarios that will come in place. For example, this lady, I think, was it the first, what's his name? Was it Amos or Max? I think Max talked about a certain scenario of the conflict resolution strategies that he used, right? They might start asking you about in what situation did you do this and that. Such examples might really come in play. So you should always have a story. If anyone talks about any story or situation, try to own that item and use that as your own story. And that will really help a lot. So I don't want to critique because Victor said something here, which is very encouraging. For you to have that mind to speak, just know the sky is the limit. Because first of all, it's the confidence for me. And in such scenarios, you can definitely speak up and take it slow and make your views or your points heard during those interviews. So I don't want to critique, but I just want to encourage every folks that spoke. And the sky is the limit for you guys. And I appreciate this platform as well. So that's all I have to say from my end.
Thank you for that insight. Okay, guys, so very quickly, we're gonna ask one more question. However, Dorcas, you brought in the parking lot issues, right? Parking lot, you take the issues to the parking lot, and that's how you use for issues. Basically, once you notice there's a situation, you put in the parking lot, you do a follow-up, you focus on doing the one-on-ones, and that's what we hear a lot. In each of these questions, we do one-on-ones, we talk to them, find out what the situation is. Abu did the same thing, and you brought up root cause, right? And that's tricky, right? So you use a term, root cause, and to find the root cause, what you did was that you start having a conversation to find that root cause. Amos, you did describe that you look to preventing conflicts, but you didn't explain how. But you did talk about resolution again, talking one-on-one. Max, of course, you're the one that came in with the strategies. Like when you started doing the prevention, I thought I would hear again what Amos just did, right? But you said you do your prevention is how you did that was through retrospective. So I never thought of that, right? So prevention of conflicts come from retrospectives. And then also confess that there's really no one thing that works. And then you went into an example of how you actually handled a conflict that happened in your team with the developer, which again, so basically, without getting theoretical, because I confess, I use the same thing too. I could tell you like, oh, well, I just talk one-on-one with these guys and, we find out what the problem is and that's how we resolve it. I'm not entirely sure that's the best way to answer that question. I think how Max did it, basically say, hey, there's no one way, but this is how I did it. Basically in this situation, we resolved it this way. I think you do get a better output. Olayemi, you talked about retros. You also use a working example like Max, and you also talked about the coaching one-on-one. Again, this okay, but you did ever improvement, follow-up, maybe having a conversation after. And also she talked about working agreement, which I know, so working Scrum Masters, we forget that we could do something like that. Like we'll have a meeting, we're going to settle this, we're going to have a working agreement, right? Very powerful way to answer that question, because again, you might be interviewing to replace a Scrum Master. What are they not doing? They're probably not doing this, right? You mentioned this, you might snag it. And look, this question is coming. How do you resolve conflict resolutions? And so that's why you want to be able to nail it, right? So like if you did a combination of Max and Olayemi, you probably do all right. And again, and Darren, basically the same thing. Theoretical, yeah, I talk to my team, I coach them, we meet in group sessions. You did use an example as well. You talk to them one-on-one, you talk to them as a group. It sounds nice. Do you nail the interview when you say that? I'm not convinced. I do convince that's how I answer the question during an interview. I think I'll definitely look into that. But this I don't know if anybody would disagree or want to add to that. This is how you answer the questions, right? When you do the parking lot. So when we say root cause, right? So root cause, basically, when you talk about root cause, when we talk about, you don't find out what the root cause is, the team does, right? The team goes into a process. on how to find what the root cause is and try to mitigate that cause. So, but that's not what you described. You described it as you needed to find the reason, not the root cause. You wanted to find the reason why this conflict was. When you use a root cause in this space, when you use root cause, you want to hear something. You're not saying it. It kind of messes up your flow. Yeah. So let's go into the last question. I know you guys will like this one. And this one, you could be brief. There's no reason why you guys were speaking on and on and on. But like I said, a lot of value was spoken today. I know people on this call learned a lot in this meeting. So here you go. Are you guys ready? Hey, can you tell me what your favorite retrospective format is? What is your favorite retrospective format? Do you run retrospectives? How do you go about it? Remember, what is your favorite retrospective format?
In terms of the format goes, we try to identify what went well through the sprint. Like what did we do well, and then we want to also identify what things can go better. The reason why I start off with what went well is because after a review, you don't typically want to like pound your team with all the things that they did wrong. You want to encourage them. You want to kind of empower them and show them that they did do a productive job. But at the same time, you still want to identify what things we do better, so that we don't come across that again for the next sprint. In terms of gamings, we have different games. We use the website, Tasty Cupcakes, and we try to change it up every sprint. We don't want to keep it consistent, because we don't want to keep it stagnant, because when you keep using the same games, it gets boring. So try to change it up. But the general format is, what did we do well, and how can we improve for the next sprint?
Thank you, Abu. Dorcas, what is your favorite retrospective format?
First of all, I want to say thank you so much for this question. My favorite retrospective format that I actually use would be Miro. And with Miro, I'm actually able to, we actually play this game called Start, Stop, and Continue. And with the Start, Stop, and Continue aspect, so we ask the team, what went well doing that sprint. And before that would be the start. So with that start aspect, so let's just say Corey started this aspect. So we start the aspect, everybody goes, then we stop. After everybody goes, we stop, then we continue again. Then we ask that, okay, so what was something that we improved again? And so it's like a circle. It's just a circle until we finish that sprint. We finish that sprint retrospective. So short and simple.
Well, very good try, Dorcas. Shernita, go ahead. What is your favorite retrospective format?
Hi. Sorry, guys, my voice is a little hoarse. So my favorite retrospective format is to acknowledge what worked in the previous sprint, in this sprint, what could we have done better? And just in terms of not just the sprint, but in our relationships with our communication with one another, in all aspects, just to check and see what we did that worked and what we did that did not work, and how can we make this better. One of the retrospectives that we use is Start, Stop, Continue. In addition to, I like to use the golden coin, which is basically, sometimes I call it a golden star, which is basically when before we start to talk about what we did wrong or what we could have done better, to acknowledge who give everybody a golden star in the sense of how they contributed to the team and in the aspect of us reaching our goal at the end of that sprint, so that we can all show appreciation to one another. And then we move forward with start, stop, continue. I like to also analyze and keep track of the things that we talk about in our retrospective, in that specific retrospective, so that I know going forward in the next retrospective to analyze what we're working on in that next sprint, and compare it to make sure that we're not repeating same habits, and just to make sure that we're moving forward in general. Because my goal in my job as a Scrum Master is to make sure that I'm continually bringing value to the company. How am I adding value? So I hope this answers your question.
Sure does, Shernita. Great job with that question. Amos, tell me, what's your favorite retrospective format?
Yeah, thank you so much for this question. So first of all, what I actually follow five stages. What I do in the first time when I set the stage, I acknowledge everyone for a job well done, for the past job they have done. Then thereafter we gather data for the retrospective meeting. Then we'll generate insights for each of those data we gathered by discussing what they have worked on and what has improved. Then we look at it critically and see how area we can actually improve on. If there is anyone who have to improve on from the incremental value, then thereafter we also decide on what to do next. Then before I close the retrospective meeting. So, thank you.
Great job there, Amos. All right. Next up, Imelda. Tell me, what's your favorite retrospective format?
Hello. Sorry, I wanted to say something quickly.
Before you do that, if you're not answering the question, that does hold retrospective format.
I have different ones. I have the timeline, the donut model, and the sailboat. But my favorite, I would say, is the graph of the last sprint. Where we try to get the perspectives of different teams by doing on the y-axis is like the filling, and then the x-axis is the time. Every member of the team will come out and describe the feeling of the members at the beginning and at whatever stage as the sprint was going on. Within those 10 days, everybody you give your own feelings and everything, and it gives everybody the opportunity to say how you observe your members, how this person was working, what kind of feeling was it, tensed up, was it doing, was it cooperating, was it a teamwork? And it gives them an opportunity to say, oh, that's true, that's the way I felt, or make joke of it. But the thing is, it helps in bonding, communicating, and getting my team together, and at the same time, bringing out the challenges, the experiences we had there. That's what I was saying.
All right, Nnaemeka. All right, great work, guys. So Imelda, you had something to say?
Yeah, I just quickly wanted to make a correction. We are all here to learn. Yeah, someone said mirror a retrospective format. It's not a retrospective format. Mural is actually a collaborative tool. So in Mural, you have different templates of retrospective. So that's something I just wanted to correct.
Right. Absolutely, Imelda, you caught that. I sure did too, right? That was Dorcas, right? The mural board is a mural board. It's basically a digital whiteboard, right? That you go online and then you run your retrospectives. You run your retrospectives, but at least you answered the question. You then went on to talk about start, stop, continue, and why that's your favorite retrospective. You answered the question, it is start, stop, continue. Hopefully you're charmed. So that's why confidence, charm, sometimes those little things might be overturned when you effectively answer the question. And so the Shernite, you start, stop, continue. Golden Star, I'm not familiar with that one. Amos, you also did that, great job. Nnaemeka, you say you use a graph. I was a little confused about that. I can confess, I never heard of that, that methodology. So yeah, at least you answered the question. And if you're answering the question, make sure you know this format because, and like I said, I didn't walk away understanding how to use graph, even though you answered the question. I don't know how to use graph in a retrospective. Abu, you didn't answer the question. You didn't answer the question. You talked about what a retrospective is. Yeah, I know what a retrospective is. That wasn't the question. The question was your best retrospective format. They're asking that, right? Because they know you're going to answer. Of course, you're coming in for a Scrum Master. Of course, you should know what a retrospective is. What do you do, right? What do you do in your retrospective? As far as, you want to get some differentiation on not just answering a retrospective question, you're basically presenting how you run a format, what you hope to get out of it. And that's what I didn't hear. I know Dorcas did, and I think Shernita did, but improvement items that come after each retrospective. So that's that with that. And look at that. So here's how you be an effective Scrum Master, right? You can time box effectively. We're reaching the end of our meeting. That question is a real interview question. Basically, I used the, I described it, again, it was a mural board, right? And the retrospective is just called halftime, right? It's called halftime, and I'm cute with it. I'm sorry, there's a fly that got in the door. I'm in South Texas. At halftime, basically, you're describing a situation. So all the participants are players, right? We're a team. The first question is, are we winning? Are we losing? What is happening? How do we win? Right? So the way I implemented that was so that, it gives them a different way of looking at things. And then we come out with improvement items afterwards. And again, it's not the simple one, like, what didn't go well? How do we get improvements better? It's the same thing, but like I said, I'm describing a format. Cool beans. I'm going to tell you one, I'm going to answer that question, Dorcas. I'm humble, but I'm also super confident. To be a Scrum Master, that is a task, right? Tasking. So because you're a servant leader, right? The fact that you're always offering to help, but you're confidently also a coach. You're also the expert. Like we do try to train our team to do certain tasks. You still have to go and say, hey, I can do that for you if, let me help you with that. Let me go ahead and do that for you. Stuff like that, because you're not like updating tasks or doing what have you. That's servant leadership. Cool beans. Victoria, I don't have anybody. Well, I said Victoria. I'm pretty much done with what we have.
What is the difference between Agile and Scrum? So what is the difference between Agile and Scrum? Assuming this is an interview that you are on and they ask what is the difference between Agile and Scrum, how would you go about answering it on an interview? Amos, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was actually, that was the interview question I was asked. So that's why I brought it here. So on Tuesday, I was interviewed, period of then. So that was one of the questions I was asked. What is the difference between the Agile and Scrum? So I was wondering, you know, after telling them about the Agile principle, 4 values of Agile and 12 principle, you know, I took my time to explain that Agile is a methodology, you know. I bring it down to also explain Scrum as a framework. So I was wondering, is there any really big differences? So that's why I brought it here, if I can also throw more light on it.
Right, I think you answered that the way it's supposed to be answered. If someone asks you that, and I think that's a common interview question. I always prep for that kind of question, but I think that's it. Right?
So just to pause a little bit, right? It's important to understand the question that they're asking, right? The question isn't what is Scrum and what is Agile. The question is, what is the difference between Agile and Scrum, right? Keyword difference. Shernita, you want to take that?
I was going to try and give it a chance, but I don't really think there's really a difference. They both work side by side. Like Agile is just a way of completing work. Scrum is the way to get the work done faster and more effectively. It's a framework that you use to get the work done faster and effectively. Agile is just I don't know how to explain that. I think I had it in my head, but because project managers also use Agile. So it's just a way of getting thoughts out and a process of completing work, where Scrum is a framework to make it come to life. But I'm not really sure how to explain the difference, because I don't really see a difference personally.
Okay, okie dokie. Omotayo.
Can you hear me this time?
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. Now, Agile is a mindset. Agile is that mindset that tells you that you need to be flexible and progressive in how work is done. While Scrum is the operating principle. It is the framework on which a particular method, it's a framework on which a particular means of being agile is established. Scrum is one of several methods. Sorry, Scrum is one of several frameworks that Agile could be implemented with. We also have, there is also extreme programming in Agile, and there is also Kanban. Thank you.
Nice one, Omotayo. And Max, want to go ahead?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Actually, my previous speaker spoke my mind, but let me just conclude on this to say you can actually be agile without being Scrum. So you cannot be Scrum without being agile. I just wanted, I mean, he said a lot of those things, so I wanted to say, I just wanted to conclude like that. Yeah, thank you.
Nice point too, good one. Frank?
Yeah, thank you very much. So from my understanding is Agile is a methodology, is a method or process, and Scrum is a framework of delivering that Agile.
Thank you, thank you. Abu, does that kind of give you some answers to that question, or how to go about it?
No, I mean, I was thinking it already. Like, I mean, Agile is just like is a methodology, like you have other traditional methods such as like waterfall, spiral, and Agile is just one of them. And it has it's an umbrella, and under that umbrella you have different frameworks such as Scrum, Kanban, TDD, BDD, and Scrum is just under that umbrella. It's a type of Agile framework that you use to help deliver value work.
it was Amos. Got the names wrong. I'm sorry, Abel.
What names? What names?
Quick, you mentioned about TDD and BDD, right? Let's also not intertwine that with the methodologies or mindset and framework, right? Because TDD and BDD is a different board game. So let's not put it under that umbrella. Dorcas, you have your hand up. Dorcas, are you going?
I agree with what the guy said, that Agile is actually a mindset. And also, while Agile is a mindset, Scrum is a framework that uses the implementation of Agile. So that's the way I'll just describe it. So Agile is a mindset, while Scrum is a framework that uses the implementation of Agile.
Awesome. All right, does anyone else have any input? And we are at time. However, there are multiple questions still on the chat. If you guys can join us, either on Telegram or as well as WhatsApp group, and ask this question or put this question on the chat, so that way we can have this conversation going, because the conversation doesn't stop here, right? We want to also facilitate that discussion through our group chat. So if you guys can join and ask these questions on there, so that way we can keep up with the interaction. But thank you guys for tonight. You guys were definitely interactive today, so I do appreciate it. We will be meeting, I believe, in 2 weeks, Wednesday, and we do have a topic that we'll be discussing. And I think, I don't want to say Lady Ann is facilitating that session,